Good Thursday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for November the 2nd. Today we are reading together in 2nd Chronicles chapter 10. 2nd Chronicles chapter 10, which is going to give us the accounting of the chronicler concerning the division of the kingdom into the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Let me get the text up on the screen for us. We'll read along together here. In 2nd Chronicles chapter 10. 2nd Chronicles chapter 10, verse number 1. This is following the death of Solomon that we read about yesterday. In 2nd Chronicles chapter 9, we read that Rehoboam, son of Solomon, went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone to Shechem to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard about it, for he was in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon's presence, Jeroboam returned from Egypt. So they summoned him, and then Jeroboam and all Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam. Your father made our yoke harsh, therefore lighten your father's harsh service and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you. Rehoboam replied, return to me in 3 days. So the people left. Then King Rehoboam consulted with the elders who had attended his father Solomon when he was alive, asking, what do you advise me to respond to this people? They replied, if you will be kind to this people and please them by speaking kind words to them, they will be your servants forever. But he rejected the advice of the elders who had advised him, and he consulted with the young men who he had grown up with, the ones attending him. He asked them, what message do you advise me to send to this people who said to me, lighten the yoke your father put on us? Then the young men who had grown up with him told him, this is what you should say to the people who said to you, your father made our yoke heavy, but you make it lighter on us. This is what you should say to them. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. Now, therefore, my father burdened you with a heavy yoke, but I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I with barbed whips. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam on the 3rd day, just as the king had ordered, saying, return to me on the 3rd day. Then the king answered them harshly. King Rehoboam rejected the elders' advice and spoke to them according to the young men's advice, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to it. My father disciplined you with whips, but I with barbed whips. The king did not listen to the people, and because the turn of events came from God, in order that Yahweh might carry out the word that he had spoken through Ahijah the Shilonite to Jeroboam, son of Nebat. When all Israel saw that the king had not listened to them, the people answered the king, what portion do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Israel, each to your own tent. David, look after your own house now. So all Israel went to their tents, but the Israelites living in the cities of Judah, but as for the Israelites living in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Hadoram, who was in charge of the forced labor, but the Israelites stoned him to death. However, King Rehoboam managed to get in his chariot and flee to Jerusalem. Israel is in rebellion against the house of David until today. And that is the text of 2nd Chronicles chapter 10. So we think about this text here in 2nd Chronicles chapter 10. We begin with Rehoboam. Remember, the two main characters here are going to be Rehoboam, the king, the one who should be king, the one who is the son of David, being the son of Solomon. He is the rightful heir to the throne. And it seems like the people recognize that. They recognize that a son of David should sit on the throne forever. So they end up appointing him as the king. He is anointed and he is elevated to that position of king over Israel. But there's this other character here, Jeroboam, who is respected as a leader by the people. He was actually the former head of forced labor, or head of the labor force under Solomon. But whenever Ahijah had told him and prophesied to him that he would become king over Israel, the northern 10 tribes, he ends up fleeing, because at that point he is a very natural enemy to Solomon and to the current leadership at that time. So he goes away, but now he comes back. and he's going to come back and he's going to join forces with the people as they go to Rehoboam to try to negotiate with him, to try to help the condition within Israel to be improved. We're told that his father had made their yoke harsh, and therefore their request is that he lighten the yoke that Solomon had put upon him, lighten the labor force, lighten all of the demands, just make life easier for Israel in general. I know some of this has to do with taxation and other things as well. And they say, if you do this, we'll serve you. We will be grateful to be your servants. We will do so willingly. So Rehoboam at this time says, all right, go away, come back in 3 days. I'll have an answer for you. He consults, of course. This is a well-known portion of the history of Israel, is the consultation of those who are the advisors of his father, which is very interesting. That his own advisors, or that the Solomon's own advisors, told him, yeah, you need to lighten the load, because Solomon was very harsh. I wonder if they had advised Solomon to lighten the load on the people during his reign, and he just hadn't listened. I don't know. I'm just curious about that. So their advice, the older, wiser individual's advice, is to lighten the load some. Then we have him consulting his contemporaries, those who were of his own age, and so those who he had grown up with, and they advise, know that you need to make it stronger. You need to show them that you're in charge, and that you're twice the man that Solomon was. You're twice as authoritative, and twice as strong as he is. You don't need to lighten the load at all. So here we have a couple of things we need to recognize. Number one, Rehoboam was not able to make a decision with the wisdom that his father was. He did not have Solomon's wisdom. Number two, he failed to do what was necessary in order to keep the kingdom together. The common sense approach here would be like, okay, if we need to keep from there being a split, which I don't know if he necessarily perceived that there could be a split. I would think that whenever the people come to you with somebody they recognize as a very real leader like Jeroboam, you would want to try to keep them on your side and not give them reason to go along with the opposition. But he doesn't do that. Again, he listens to his contemporaries, and he says, hey, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist, meaning I again, twice or however much the man that my father was. Your yoke is going to be not lessened, but it's going to be made greater. He disciplines you with whips. I want to discipline you with barbed whips. All this is pride on the part of Rehoboam. That's all it is. It is pride on the part of Rehoboam. And yet, let's recognize that this was all according to the will of God. And we might be thinking, well, that's kind of strange. How can we say that God wanted this split to take place? Well, it wasn't necessarily that he wanted the split to take place, but he recognized it was necessary as punishment for Israel. Well, what's he punishing Israel for? Well, he's punishing Israel, going back to 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 33. He is punishing Israel for their unfaithfulness. The text says that they, meaning Israel, have bowed down, or they have abandoned me. Yahweh is speaking, that they have abandoned me. They have bowed down to Ashereth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and to Chemosh, the god of Moab, and to Milcom, the god of the Ammonites. They have not walked in my ways to do what is right in my sight, and to carry out my statutes and my judgments, as his father David did. So this is all punishment for Israel's rejection of Yahweh. Solomon had rejected Yahweh through the pursuit of the gods of his many hundreds of wives, and that had allowed the people to do the exact same thing. So this breaking up of the kingdom was punishment, because this would hurt the kingdom. This would make the kingdom weaker. Instead of being a united front to be able to withstand the attacks of outsiders, now they're going to be divided and actually attacking themselves from time to time. Always at odds with one another, it seems, unfortunately. Well, not always, but many times at odds with one another. So this was punishment from Yahweh for the rebellion of the people. So the punishment looks like those of Israel, the northern tribes, finding themselves as distant from Judah. Remember, Solomon, going back to David, it was of the tribe of Judah. And so all the Judahites naturally, and I think a lot of Benjaminites as well, naturally were going to follow their king, who is the son of their fellow Judahites. and the rest of them are going to go their own way. So what portion do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. Israel, each to your tent, but David, look after your own house now. So Judah, good luck. You're on your own. So Israel, the northern tribes, went to their tents, but the southern tribes of Judah, they remained with Rehoboam. And we see just how strong the people were in their resistance to Rehoboam, that whenever he sends them Hadoram, that they end up stoning him to death. But Rehoboam's able to escape. And at this point, Israel is in rebellion against the house of David until today. And I'm interested. I wish I would have had something else to read about what that looks like, that they are in rebellion against the house of David until today. If this is written post-exilic, then I'm just trying to understand what exactly that means, how that is the case. But maybe I can find some more reading on that. If you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to leave that in the comments section below. But again, here, there is a lack of wisdom on the part of Rehoboam that his father possessed. He obviously did not learn how to handle the people as his father had displayed from time to time. Again, it's not that Solomon was perfect. A lot of people didn't like how harsh he was toward them in his labor and in his taxation. But he could have learned from that, and he could have helped to improve the environment in Israel, the relationship between the king and the people, but he didn't. And because of that, because of his lack of wisdom, because of his pride, he ends up being the catalyst. Again, this is all according to the will of Yahweh, however, so let's not forget that. He ends up being the catalyst to divide the people. I tell you what, there are a few things that are worse than for God's people to undergo division. That's just never a good thing. God desires, Jesus certainly desires in his prayer in John 17 in the garden for his people to be united. And certainly, unfortunately, at this point, God's people, they were not united. And again, it leads to a number of really, really unfortunate issues. So we're now past the point of the United Kingdom. We are squarely into the time frame of the divided kingdom, and we'll continue to work our way through the chroniclers version of these accounts. Again, it's not that he's going to give a different version as far as the historical facts go. He's just going to give a different perspective, again, for a theological purpose of leading the people to understand exactly why they are where they are and how it all came about. But if you do have any questions or comments about this text here in 2 Chronicles chapter 10, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. And I appreciate you taking some time reading along with me today on this Thursday. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. And tomorrow we'll be reading together in 2 Chronicles chapter 11. Hope to see you then. Take care, and God bless.